I know.
We have 1 minute till live, so get all the
No,
terrible
it's
things out
live
of your
now.
mouth that
It's
you're gonna
live now.
say.
I gave you a 1 minute warning like 45 seconds ago.
I better get all my drinking.
This is live.
I
on
wasn't paying
YouTube
attention.
with ultra low latency, according to my stats here.
Is that because you installed the latest NVIDIA drivers?
Oh, undoubtedly. This is all CUDA. Let's see.
The delay
CUDA, all the way
Not
down.
CUDA, NVENC, right?
changing. No. But I mean, now that when you click to change the tab on the web page, it just does it in milliseconds.
Wait, on our website?
No delay. Well, because you're running NVIDIA.
Well,
So you've got the...
no, I run through
optimization.
Stadia. There's predictive linking that happens.
Pity you have to watch it at 320 by 240.
All right, let me update the live. Okay, this, that,
Live,
the other
live.
thing.
The
This-
live chat.
Yeah, that any second now. Okay, pushing buttons as fast as I can.
You're pushing my buttons, Roger.
Oh, Tim Apple is in our
Surely you're
YouTube chat
kidding.
this week. That's an honor.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm getting
Probably
the
have-
Minky.
We'll have some good things to say to Tim Apple.
I'm getting the something run.
Am I going to be as blown out as I was last week
You
in
are
terms of
fair.
vision?
Oh,
I need to
I thought
drop
you were
it
talking
down
about.
you
another-
look one notch too high on the white levels.
What do you mean something went wrong? What did I do?
Well, you blocked
What did
the
you do?
text,
You
which is
broke
always a
the
good
mailing
idea.
list. That's what you did.
I did not. I tried very
Again.
hard not to break the mailing list. It was Amazon who said, nah. Oh, that's why. There's,
Ooh, what'd you get from Sonic tonight?
there's a dash.
Dietary limeade.
I heard that as dietary limeade.
Well,
It
Doctor's
it's a
orders.
dietary requirement.
Yeah. I don't
It's
like
kind of
to
like
go to
dietary
Sonic,
fiber,
but-
but not really. Kitty, what do you do? Get in your position, cat.
there you go, Brett. You got it.
I got it. Okay.
There you go.
Wow.
Kitty says hi.
tweet out.
Robo Ed's going to be so happy. Hi.
There's only like a 1.5 to 2 second delay, I think, on YouTube right now. It's amazing.
That's unbelievable.
It was almost like a very long echo effect. I could be exaggerating slightly.
Robo Ed says we need more cat ass.
I know there's cat because I can hear that ticking against Josh's mic.
Yeah, that's the giveaway. Static electric cat fur.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, the important thing is we're all here. We're live. Everything seems to be working.
Oh my gosh, I need show notes. Where'd they go? Oh, they're
Yeah,
there.
who needs them?
Oh my
Who needs show
gosh, oh
notes?
my
This
gosh.
is not a professional operation here. Let's be honest.
There's like a pretend thing. It's like when
Yeah,
you dress up.
it's just because of the history. Like Ryan did 500 and something of these things.
And they were every single one very professional, yes.
He would usually be on by 10 o'clock.
Attempt.
Yeah, he'd be back in the office by like 9:30, and then most nights.
Tell you, the one thing he was good at, he was a
He's
good
phoning you to
taskmaster.
remind you?
Was he?
Of, what?
I
He
just
was
said,
phoning you to remind you.
Yes,
that the
when I
show
was
starting.
late. Hey, Josh, this is Ryan. Oh, hey, Ryan, what's up? So you going to join us tonight? Yeah, give me 5 minutes. And that's at like 8:05.
Hey, you've been pretty good.
It was
on your
every
own
other week,
recognizance.
so, I would forget.
It's true.
It's
Oh,
easy
okay,
to forget. But no, he cracked the whip when it came to going through stories. That was one thing that he had a talent for.
yeah.
And you suck.
Well, I let you guys talk too much. I guess is what you're saying.
Pretty much, yeah.
Gotta crack it.
He was really good at like,
Too
okay,
much,
yep,
too
wrap it up.
much.
Enough. All right, no. And then you'd say, Ryan, can I tell a story? And you're like, no, not one of your stories. And then you'd tell it anyway.
Can I tell a joke?
No.
Especially
There.
no.
That was almost Ryan-like.
Yep.
I liked your Ryan impression, Wendell, when you had Alan on. It's like, hey, it's the PC. Wait, Ryan looks different.
Eh,
Okay, let's make this official. What is this? 624 already?
I believe so.
Oh, hang on. Where's the link? Hang on,
The
hang on,
Discord.
hang on.
It's in the Discord.
I see it. Stop it. Wow, that latency is low.
Yes.
Razor 2048, you be careful what you wish for. We could make the show a lot longer if I just didn't edit it at all. Everything from the moment you hit record could go out as the finished product.
charge people extra money for that. It works out.
Well, hey, speaking of, our Patreon subscribers get the full unedited version of the podcast every week.
They do.
It's
Did
a
you actually
little,
hit record?
Yeah, I've been recording since I said hitting record.
Hitting record. You know
Or
what?
somewhere
We'll have to have Hewlett and Wendell on one time, and that would be like a 3-hour show.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd have to wear my diaper.
Yeah.
you have to get like
Or
your
get a
special
trucker's
donut
buddy.
insert for your chair.
Yeah, no, I'll get the. I'll go talk to that astronaut lady, see what she used.
You need a chair. I don't know if everybody here has seen Idiocracy, but
Of course.
Luke Wilson's attorney, I can't remember his name. He has the toilet lazy boy in his living room.
Yeah.
So he you hear a flushing sound, and then he gets up and pulls his pants up. That's what we need. It's like, go away, Baton. All right. Let's start the show. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 624 for April 14, 2021. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
Tomorrow is not tax day, thank God, because Josh Walrath has not filed his taxes yet.
Oh, yeah, that's tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah.
And now we
no
have that
Texas
on
here
record.
either.
What?
I'm gonna be Brett Van Spoonberg tonight.
And look, we have a special guest over here.
Hi, I'm Wendell. It's fine.
It's the computer custodial engineer. What is the more politically correct term than janitor?
Yeah, computer janitor. I mean, it's
Computer
fine.
janitor, yeah.
It's fine.
Wendell from Level 1 Techs. He's here. He's here on our show. Sort of tangentially returning the favor because he had Alan on, but Alan isn't with us anymore. This was months ago. It's like, hey, maybe you should be on our show. I said 2 hours ago. And
It's fine.
yeah, he's like, it's fine. It's way too generous.
Okay.
But-
I was here anyway, it turns out. So
Oh, okay. All right. But I mean, if any viewers are out there and just want to be on the podcast, let me know.
Normally I'm just in the chat yelling at the monitor. So this is what it turns out.
Yeah, you can just yell at us directly. And
Sometimes
I would
So
that
question,
works.
quick.
Yeah,
quick,
yeah.
quick. Yeah, I haven't seen any remodel pictures lately, Wendell. How is that going?
I've completed it. It's fine.
No way.
Yeah. I don't know if I did an actual walkthrough, but I got all the data in. I did a few videos on like the IoT series, and so like that's the background. And so like in the background, if you're interested in like how everything worked out, it's basically the background of the IoT thing. But I got most of the IoT stuff up and going, so it does automatic things like turns the water off if there's a leak or turns the lights on when I get home and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun.
It's a nice radiator behind you, by the way. My wife would kill for that.
Yeah, they work. Like, so in addition to computer janitoring, boiler maintenance. So you have to have a license from the state in order to do that.
Yep.
But mostly,
Because that can be kind of explosive.
yes. Well, this system is only a 10 psi system, and it has 2 safeties. And but you can replace the pipe. You can shut it down. You can replace the pipes, and then you can have somebody come in and look at it and certify it, and it's okay. It still works. We still use it in the winter, and it works exceptionally well. Like when I first moved in, it was like a boiler. This is not modern technology. This kind of sucks, but it turns out it's cheap, and I like cheap.
Yeah, we've got a low
boilers are
pressure steam heat in our house, and it's after about 80 years, it needed to kind of refurb with, new safeties, some new electronics. And when we talk about electronics, it's essentially knob and tube crap that is updated. And,
It's hard to keep the heat
yeah,
relationship.
no, it's the mercury switches and all of that, and boy, it once we got that all fixed up, our house was like a new house.
Yeah. It's the heat plant is a really nice Well McLean, and I've got all new Honeywell sensors, and it's glorious.
I have to ask: is that period correct coloring on the radiator? There is that. What is happening there? Is that foil, silver
It's
paint?
high. Yeah, it's high temperature Krylon because it locks in the rust.
Hey, perfect. Okay. Housekeeping stuff. Normally, I would say you would subscribe to our mailing list, but we have some technical hurdles there. We didn't have an email this week.
It's not my fault.
Okay, allegedly.
It's a male
Allegedly.
problem.
As far
an
as anybody
Amazon
knows,
issue.
it's not my fault.
Right, 2 weeks in a row of that excuse.
It's nobody's fault. Sometimes males have problems.
So I'll withhold.
not-
Like normally, we'd say go to pcper.com/subscribe, pcper.com/subscribe. I don't know if it's doing anything right now. Maybe it is.
You can still get on the mailing
You can
list.
get in the. You can get on the waiting list to be added to the mailing list.
True.
And you can wouldn't do that. I mean, honestly.
No. Well, yeah, you can. You can get
Please
on the
join our
mailing list.
spam list. There's an exclusive. It's limited
We're so-
to.
You're so exclusive that you only allow a certain number of people in the YouTube chat because, well, too many people, and it's just.
Well, yeah, and we screen them.
cut it off.
They have to interview with me beforehand before they're allowed.
There's
in
a
the
short
chat.
application process. It's not very difficult.
A reasonably comfortable video exchange that is mandatory. Patreon.com/PCPer is the place to go to help support this. And I don't. Do we have any new subscribers to mention?
I
Brett?
would
No?
have added the new subscribers here if we had any between
Oh,
the last
okay.
show and
I
this show.
see.
We did gather one in the last show, and if anybody logs in and changes their name or ups their patronage, I'll
Or
be
even
happy to
reduces
read out-
it. Imagine.
or
you know?
reduces it.
Yeah. Hey.
Yep.
Exactly.
Changes it.
You weren't
whatever.
supposed to tell
I'll
them that
read out
part.
I'll read out their new name within reason. Probably, I don't know whose reason, but somebody's reason. I'll read out the change name right here live. So yeah, put your name right here. Go in and make a change. Become a new patron.
Well, we've
What
waited
if I
long
change
enough.
my name?
Gosh. Born in a barn.
No.
No?
Anyway,
Where did you go?
I was going to say something rude, but I'll not.
Well, hey, you can say rude things about your lunch
Yeah.
because it's that time. It's the time everybody looks forward to every week when I add some sort of cheesy music in the editing process and we look at Josh's latest burger of the week. Please take it away, Josh.
Okay. Well, I knew that they had been working on this special for a while, and it was special. I mean, it wasn't the tangiest. It wasn't hot. It wasn't spicy, but it sure was meaty. And by meaty, I'm talking the Mandrake burger. I don't know why they call it the Mandrake burger, but this is a burger.
didn't
2
think
sesame
to
seed
ask.
buns, of course. Onion aioli, which is the majority of that messiness. The other messiness is the several slices of Swiss cheese, which cover Italian beef, sautéed mushrooms, and a single organic, free-range, locally sourced beef patty. So together it melted in your mouth and super meaty flavor. It's Italian beef. If you ever been to Chicago, is it that they specialize in that? It's a tangy.
I would have guessed
prepared roast
Italy
beef.
myself, but
There's
No,
that.
No, it's.
Were you thinking of
it does
Italian
not
ice? Italian ice? That's totally different. That's not a sandwich.
No.
I don't see
if
a
there
patty in
was-
there. I'm seeing roast beef of
It's
some kind.
down
but-
below. It's
well,
covered.
I
It's
mean,
covered
you need
by
a
the roast
you need a
beef,
different
but it was
angle.
there.
We need multiple burger photos.
Oh,
I don't know, but it was
Wow.
just so
Oh.
sticky that I couldn't take it apart.
Okay.
I couldn't do
All
it. It was hard.
Okay.
But the fries
Just
were a
too
little
much
underdone.
material.
They were tasty, but they were underdone, and so they kind of were like a mass of fries that when you pulled one out, and it was slightly disappointing, but the burger itself made up for it.
I definitely think I'd ask why they called it a mandrake, especially if they were serving it with like belladonna fries or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Well,
Right.
I'm disappointed because I look forward to the fries every week. Since of course,
Yeah, no.
deprived
Fries
myself.
were, I
of
mean,
all
they
meats.
still tasty, but they were just a little underdone.
Are we ready to talk about the latest exciting OEM only AMD APU developments?
Yes.
I have to call out the descriptive Radeon graphics specification here. The flagship, we're talking about the Ryzen 5000G series, the flagship of which is going to be the Ryzen 7 5700G. It's an 8-core, 16-thread, 65-watt CPU, max boost up to 4.6 gigahertz, so that's good. And it's Zen 3 cores. So they're moving up to the Zen 3 from the 4000 series, which is OEM only APU, which had Zen 2 cores. And the only issue I see, and I have to click on one of their links here, is under specifications, they only list graphics model Radeon graphics. Graphics core count 8, frequency 2 gigahertz. So I'm guessing this is just Vega again.
Yeah.
I got one of the OEM
wouldn't
ones,
shock
and it
me.
was Vega
Yeah. Oh, the OEM 4000s or 5000s?
5000. It's
Oh,
or
really?
engineering sample. Yeah,
Oh,
I snuck it
nice.
into one of my videos. I do little things to drive people insane, and so about 2 weeks ago, I did a review of a Synology NAS, and I was like, "Look, it's like you can unplug stuff, and VMware will keep going." And if you look really closely at the VMware screenshots, it's the AMD APU part number. But it's pretty
I'm-
zippy.
Disappointed you're not using its full name though.
The
It just
5700G.
rolls off the tongue. No, the AMD
No.
Ryzen 7 5000G series desktop processor with Radeon graphics.
Yes.
Because we all want to type that out multiple times.
Yes, as I copied and pasted this from AMD. It is not an APU, even though if you go to the URL, it is under the APUs section. It's desktop processors with Radeon graphics. That allows them to be obscure, though, I guess. I wanted this to be that mythical Zen 3 plus RDNA 2. I basically, a Xbox Series X in a
Well,
box.
that's kind of a meta game though here, isn't it? Because like, why would they do that unless they don't want the APU designation to be a thing? Because like Intel doesn't say the with iGPU. I mean, you get the K or the not K, but they don't really make a big deal about it. So what does that suggest about the future of Ryzen?
The future is fusion, and has been for the past 15 years.
Yes.
Just throw another chiplet on there. Put a GPU chiplet on there. A couple more CPU chiplets. Just make make it bigger.
That would be interesting. I mean, people had always, kind of talked about, because of their whole chiplet strategy and the integrated I/O, die, that you could have, a CPU and then a GPU chip, and in theory, you still could with, Infinity Fabric and all that, but yeah, they just make, one just kind of giant die with it all in, and 7 nanometer and Vega graphics, and I think Vega graphics are probably it's more die size efficient, and it can still clock up there, and the amount of work that they actually did with Vega to get it to where it is now, they're kind of in a good space because they're only competing against Xe, and Intel has made leaps and bounds, but they're still just not there yet. Yeah, AMD is closer to NVIDIA than really Intel is closer to AMD. That may change near the end of the year or the next product generation. I don't know, but yeah, there's still a lot of the low level nuts and bolts that AMD has with not just their hardware design but also software. Drivers are still a big thing. Intel has a lot of money to throw at it, but you just don't know the counts of engineers actually working on these things from Intel, and you really don't know from AMD either. But they have improved pretty dramatically, even just over the past 5 years. Where it's not early 2000s ATI drivers.
Yeah, that was one of the. I'm getting a little ahead of the agenda, but the GTC thing from NVIDIA, like not just that, but the last 6 months of stuff from NVIDIA is like, holy crap! NVIDIA has done an insane amount of stuff around their software stack and the drivers and everything else. And to your point, I think AMD's got to be looking at that on the video side and saying, we still have a ways to go in terms of ABC XYZ maybe. Because some of the AI stuff and some of the other stuff is just crazy.
Yeah. I think in terms of like game drivers and Solidity, they're in a pretty good place. But when you're talking about OpenCL and some of these open, they're so far behind. I mean, that CUDA stack it's scary for everybody, and there's a reason why ARM is kind of excited about joining with NVIDIA, because suddenly they have this massive bunch of software they can leverage on day one. But that's we can talk about that further. But let's talk about having Zen 3.
Let's look at these slides.
8 cores, 16
it's
threads.
Here.
How much is this going to cost? How's the top one's going to cost? That's like a 3,800.
Hey, in the coming weeks, we're going to see some exciting OEM SKUs.
No, 58
products.
Sorry,
58. It's downclocked a little bit, and it doesn't have as much cache.
What, it boosts up to 4.6, and the 58 is what, 4.7?
Right. This is all that matters. You go to PC Part Picker right now as an enthusiast. The budget build has reached the $1,000+ area, and that's with an i3 and a 1650. So I want any kind of competent performance from an APU.
Hey, do you remember when you could buy an RX 580 for $150?
I know.
Wow, that's unattainable now.
With 8 gigabytes of memory, no less.
Even though they dropped the GPU core count from 11 to 8, they were actually able to upclock it significantly, and the 8 count version actually does outperform.
Wait, are we talking about Intel? Okay, no. We'll talk about it was 10 cores, not 11 cores. You're thinking of 11.
That's not what I'm talking about. No, I'm talking about the big.
I see. You're talking about AMD
because you were kind of dumping on them a little bit, and we're talking about like what kind of gaming performance you could expect, out of an AMD APU. And I was just pointing out that even though the count went from 11 to 8 on their Vega cores, they're actually, due to the process shrink, they were able to upclock them somewhat significantly, and they actually perform better than the previous.
It is really interesting what they've done in terms of like power management as well, because juggling 8 cores and 8 Vega, it's a little tricky. And I don't think they got it exactly right on the 3000 series APUs. 4000 was a lot better. And the one, what I have is not final. But even though it's not final, how it juggles power between Vega and the 8 cores is really interesting.
Do these parts have more in common with the mobile variant? This is like single monolithic die with GPU, right? Or no?
At 65 watts. But on the desktop part, you can run it higher and it's fine. But yeah.
I was just noticing I'd forgotten Al in our chat had mentioned the cache is smaller. Yes, it's only 16 megabytes of L3.
Yeah, it's
on
half.
This
versus 32.
Yeah, 32. So no, it can't load all of Dota 2 in L3 like the desktop can. Speaking of Dota 2, actually I didn't put this result in here because I didn't. But I revisited our exciting 11th gen Rocket Lake coverage just briefly.
Oh, come on, it was riveting.
Riveting. Because, they had to do something. And how about a day one BIOS update? Which, of course, nobody had in their reviews because I don't think it was even released until the 30th. I don't know if people got it early.
What do they think it is, a GISA?
Yeah, I know.
Really.
The update the version 0704 update for the ROG Maximus 13 Hero, which is the board that Intel was sending out with these, as far as I know. That's what I got.
Click on download. Click on download.
It's a picture. I can't.
Click on download.
If I click on download, it just increases the size of the picture. It supports adaptive boost technology with the i9, which was apparently not enabled before. Kind of a not a great look for the review performance. And then improves system performance in some way, updates microcode and stability. So anyway, if you actually look at what it did, it greatly enhanced all-core performance in a default no power limit state, as most, if not all, enthusiast boards will ship. And that takes it from 4.8 gigahertz all-core to 5 gigahertz on all cores. So this is like 9900 KS territory, but with faster IPC. And that it's not huge. It was 17 seconds shaved off of Blender Classroom, which actually enabled it to surpass the Ryzen 7 5800X in that particular test. I didn't run a lot of tests here. Geekbench, I just wanted to see single core integer and floating point performance, which were not exactly flat, actually slightly below. So I don't know what was going on.
You lost a little here.
I only did it default power limits. If you manually enforce all limits, the performance in Geekbench is higher. So if I'd done manual limits BIOS 704 versus unlocked 605, it would have been faster. But
what was your cooling on this, by the way?
It's a 280 all-in-one. I think it was a GamerStorm 280, that one I last reviewed. So, and that was at full bore, 100% on the fans and the pump. So I never had any thermal issues. It was sitting around 70, a little over 70 degrees C under load. But
you're slightly deaf now.
Yes. Multi-core performance was up, of course, but up kind of significantly. Look, it's from 10,499 integer up to 11,282, and then floating point went up as well. Not as much, but it was, significant. But look at the power. The power increase. Just over 210 watts package power. That increased to 270.
So under the same conditions, if you could keep it under 70, it would be closer to 290. Because 70 degrees C is the magic spot for that CPU.
Okay,
so
yeah.
if you run with all the defaults, it'll be like, all right, sounds good, more power.
Just, you can't throw enough cooling at it, and you'll just get better and better performance with higher and higher power draw. It's a beautiful marriage between thermals, power, and slightly improved performance.
I have a question for the Brain Trust, because this is something that I struggled with.
Then.
Okay.
For
the audience at large, not this room.
No, you guys. No, it's
okay.
This is something that I struggled with, and I don't know. I don't know the answer. Usually, the benefits you get from a shrink, like a process shrink, going from 14 nanometers to 10 nanometers, is, well, maybe not from 14 nanometers, but from like 22 nanometers to 14 nanometers, certainly. More clocks, less power. I don't think they would have gotten more clocks.
Yeah, but 22 to 14 was not more clocks. I mean, think about the first generation of 22, how high they could clock those up versus that first generation of 14. Now,
yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
Given the 14 nanometer process that we look at now is totally different than that initial one, and they have improved those clocks dramatically, and it pulls a lot of power. So I mean, I can see what you're seeing there, but yeah, I mean, you'd think, I mean, with AMD, they got better clocks and better power going from their 12 nanometer, which was just kind of a snappy 14 nanometer, and down to 7, and they better die size, better power,
Yeah.
slightly higher clocks. So yeah,
it looks to me
we live
like-
in a
yeah.
strange place when it comes to process technology.
But like, if they had won on power utilization, I don't think we would be talking about these things running at like 5.6 gigahertz or 5.7 to pull ahead a definitive win. And so it's like, I was expecting more from Rocket Lake, but then we look at 10 nanometer Xeons. They did win on the process on the Xeon side, and we look at the cores on Xeon, and it's like, well, did the Ice Lake cores really make that much of a difference? I mean, certainly in power utilization, but the power utilization's up on Xeons anyway. So like, what could what was everybody's expectation for Rocket Lake? Because even at 10 nanometers, I don't think it would have been that much faster, just less power usage.
One of the bad SpaceX launches was my expectation.
No. We had this discussion on Twitter. I remember just this, in the past week, and I think we're kind of looking at this wrong because originally I thought, hey, they cut down these Rocket Lake cores and caches so that they'll be able to fit it in a reasonable die size, and so they're going to give up some performance because some of these structures have changed due to the changes in the actual low-level transistor design. But the more I thought about it, the more I kind of considered is the actual design itself and all those features and functionality are there. And so it's not like they're going to throw all these other transistors at Rocket Lake on 10 nanometer for an increase in per core performance and IPC. But what we did sacrifice is going from 10 cores down to 8 cores. And so if on 10 nanometer, if they had been able to get everything together, we would still see a 10 core Rocket Lake Park. And that would have really helped them out at the high end and that, kind of Halo CPU. And maybe they'd have thrown a little bit more cache in there. But as we kind of know, Intel is not as cache dependent as AMD is for getting really good performance. I mean, 32 megs of cache is a lot of freaking cache. I mean, that's my first Pentium 133 had 16 megs of memory total, and that was smoking at the time. And so now you've got L3 cache of 32 megs, and it makes my 20-year past self kind of giddy. And what we're able to do, as Sebastian says, just load Dota into cache, and you're good to go.
Yeah. Wendell, are you perhaps referring to 3rd Gen Xeon and the 10 nanometer proof in the pudding that their clocks are lower?
Yeah,
at
yeah.
10
So
nanometers?
it's like, first of all, like the 10 nanometer.
Just
10 core,
explain what this is. So yeah.
So like 10 nanometer 10 core Xeon they've already said is coming like Q4. And there's this weird thing with like Cooper Lake mixed in with the Ice Lake cores, which is super confusing and weird, and almost seems like a deliberate something weird going on. But looking at the core performance of even the flagship Xeon parts, I was expecting more from the new micro architecture, and it is increased power usage. And granted, this is what, like a second or third generation 10 nanometer technically. The performance is not bad, don't get me wrong, but I'm just surprised that as little cache as it has, and generally Intel is farther out there with they've got more people, more engineers doing stuff, and so they usually have like more insanely clever designs, and their patent war chest is probably insane. It seems like that the core still had more hype than it actually delivered, even in like the Xeon format. From looking at this, and things that aren't flagship Xeons just aren't going to be available for like 2 more quarters.
Yeah,
Intel's
and we're coming from an ecosystem where they had, what was it, 64 plus SKUs of Xeon.
Yeah. So I don't know what to make of it, but it just seems odd.
Silver crap.
Yeah.
Oh,
just not as many.
That company has got some serious. I mean, they have skewed themselves to death.
Yeah.
And would you call that skewered?
Yes.
That's what I was thinking.
I will now.
I just can't.
Yeah, Francois has. I mean, he's an interesting character. We can all agree.
Oh boy. Okay, here we go.
Now we're all on the list.
But he is correct in that, like the bean counters and the guys have taken over a lot of the marketing, a lot of the product development, and it's just killing them with consumers because you're given this whole array of stuff that goes from a couple thousand up to tens of thousands, and now of course they've had to drop that down, these latest ones, because AMD's doing such a darn good job. It's killing their partners because they have to have all the support for all these different SKUs, and that takes time, and it takes design, and it takes different cooling solutions, and you got to make sure thing is checked off, and you got to have all the firmware support, and it's just ridiculous, and it's getting more confusing every day because we've got multiple generations of things all being sold at the same time. It's just nuts, and that's where AMD has simplified things quite a bit with their product stacked.
I don't want to hijack the podcast, but I have.
You go right ahead.
We go in another direction. How much of that is because I agree with you, and I see it too, but how much of it is to do with product segmentation and oops, we've bean counted ourselves into a corner here. How do we escape? And how much of it is because software is changing? Because I see the software side of this driving a lot of it. Because not that long ago, I was super excited with like 4-core servers, and I've got all this non-uniform whatever, and IBM had their crazy 8-socket servers, and those are still a thing, and blah blah blah. But now on the software side, we see all this crazy software like Docker and Kubernetes and blah blah blah, and it kind of harkens back to like the pictures from inside Google in like the late 90s and early 2000s, where it was just stacks of motherboards with like cardboard separating them, and they're like, oh yeah, the real servers were too expensive, so we just bought whatever we could find from the local store and plugged it in, and everything was good. And we didn't need enterprise reliability because we just did it all in software. And so like single and dual socket servers, like kind of dual socket servers are kind of not really, from what the sales numbers, it doesn't look all that good. And so I could just throw 1,000 single socket servers at it and fix it with software. It's like, is that driving the desegmentation of processors?
ARM certainly hopes it is. And I mean, to an extent it is. Because that's what their specialty is.
Yes.
Multiple socket. Like, don't even bother counting the socket. We'll just tell you how much processing power there is per cubic inch.
Yeah.
Well,
I
mean,
go ahead.
Plus ESXi and VMware and how they license everything out.
True.
Yeah. And
Let's see.
NVIDIA
You got a 2-socket server?
Yes.
Yeah.
We should move on from this. I think we're supposed to be talking about Intel. I'll just briefly in closing, I just want to show Josh did some analysis of the power draw as well, and it's just crazy. I mean, you look at the total system, you got 300. Oh wait, no, that's the FX 9590 review. Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong product. Wrong product.
Oh,
okay.
The
numbers
on
are
that.
almost
Similar to that.
identical, though. They're almost the same. Except their stated TDP was more accurate.
yeah, 219 watts.
On the
They
subject,
didn't lie.
yeah. On the subject, I just want to briefly mention that Brent Justice did a thorough write-up of the Intel 750 graphics performance, like a real GPU review, like he used to do for years at Hard OCP. And the numbers are a little different. It's like going back in time to older technology and running newer games with them. If I can find beautiful screenshots of the command center. They have a very nice looking software suite.
Actually, I was impressed by the command center.
Yeah, command center is nice. Integer scaling. I mean, retro gaming on this in DOSBox is great.
And their own sort of take on adaptive sync, or at least enhanced VSync.
But look at this performance. I mean, if you're playing Grand Theft Auto 5 at 720p, you can play it at 82.3 frames per second, up from 50.8 with the i9-10 900K. As a picture of, I don't know what this is, some kind of a sausage.
That's
here.
beef.
Oh,
The charcuterie.
Aren't you probably playing at a CRT? Really? Probably instead.
I don't know. Grand Theft Auto 5. Let's see. Turn it up to 1080 normal.
It's a real retro feel.
Yeah. 20.
I mean,
okay.
as long as you compare it to the 630, it looks great.
Yeah, basically could not even run Cyberpunk, of course. And anytime you get up into the higher settings, I think there was a little bit of 1440 testing. You start at 720 low, 31 frames per second in Far Cry 5. It just gets worse from there. Essentially, in some of the tests they showed the gains they were talking about, and others they did not. But it is faster, and it's graphics you can actually buy. And there's a working driver now a week later. Or a week or so after the launch, they actually had a driver for the general public.
That's awesome.
Which is the exact same driver as XE on mobile. It's this They just re-released it with.
It's going to be the same It's going to be the same product.
There were a few games that didn't load properly. You check out the article on the FPS review because he had some games like Horizon Zero Dawn. He couldn't get out of the front, like the menu, and there's a few games that just wouldn't work properly. But that's the problem with, I don't know, it's a new driver, but it's not a new driver. You're kind of at the mercy of optimizations there, but it gets you a display. You can play some games at 30 frames per second, some games at 80 frames per second, and you can always play DOS games at 60 frames per second, every time, or whatever they are. We should probably go into GTC. Should we take a break first, Brett?
Sure.
Should this be break number one? All right, let's hear from podcast sponsor number one.
Let's take a quick break to hear from LinkedIn Talent Solutions. Find your next hire fast.
But not actually, because we'll edit in the ad later.
Yeah,
we will.
And also,
Yes.
Do we have to?
No.
I mean, Brett likes to do it. He
You
likes to
already
read
know.
ads.
He likes to get
I
paid.
do. I do.
Whoa,
I
whoa,
think
whoa.
everybody does.
Is the VR free Half-Life Alyx, is that a real thing, or is that still like community mod?
It's a legitimate thing, but it is not, from Valve, but it is a very good modification, and
It's still
it's been
community.
in the works for over a year now. It's
And all the
not
source
some
code to
of the-
Half-Life 3 is in it.
There's been a couple of no, that's not that one. This is a different one.
It's Alex.
This is Half-Life Alyx, and it's been a labor of love, really, for someone to sort of flatten the existing Alyx. And it's not a remake where the assets from a different version of Half-Life has been pulled in and sort of overlaid. It's a real flattening of Half-Life Alyx. And there's a video on the link that I left there that actually sort of illustrates what it sort of simulates what you could do to kind of like, how you were wearing the VR helmet and you were kind of casting out and picking up things and kind of using them. There's a 2D way of simulating that action that actually looks fairly decent, reasonably playable. I didn't really know that. I was sort of not interested in this, although I'm very interested in the story, and of course, who doesn't want to play Half-Life 3? And I realized that after I read this, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I still kind of want to play this. I might actually go and maybe purchase this. I don't own a headset, so this kind of fell off my radar. But this might get me to try it out if they complete this mod and finish it out. The review that I read of this particular mod actually said, yeah, this turns out to be a pretty faithful reproduction, but it's actually not as much fun than rather than having the VR, because it sort of takes an element of immersion, obviously, away. But the game is sort of written with that in mind,
Right.
and without it,
When they
it
looked
sort of
at people
loses a bit of the
playing-
punch.
When they looked at people playing it, wasn't most of the time spent picking stuff up and then throwing it in their inventory and then deciding what they wanted to have in their inventory and stuff?
Perhaps
Because that's not going to be quite the same without,
Yeah,
well,
picking
we'll
things
make
up
sure
and
to leave a
flinging
link.
them in VR, that's the whole thing. That's
Yeah.
the
No,
experience.
we'll leave a link. We'll leave
That
a
and
link
running
to this
into walls.
version in the show notes.
I mean, could you
or in the
imagine Beat Saber with a mouse and a keyboard?
Uh-oh. Josh.
I want to huck a toilet in VR.
Is
Yes.
Josh still with
So
us?
do I.
Oh, no.
no.
Oh no!
His
Can
moto.
you hear me?
No.
His audio
Like,
came
can
back.
oh, wait,
you.
no, the videos might be coming back. We can hear you. But
Oh, he's on
Oh.
Vega. He's on Vega APU right
Is
now.
my child doing something?
possibly.
Yes.
I mean, the answer to that's going to be yes,
Oh well, let me text
just in
him.
general.
Oh, okay.
Stop
Child.
seeding. Just download the torrents. Don't seed them. I need that upload.
Stop seating. You know what? A lot of people don't know to take that and just turn that all the way down. Just
Yeah,
stop,
you got to
turn it
throttle.
off.
But sometimes
Right.
when you throttle too much, then your download suffers. You have to be
Right.
careful about that.
You can't just turn on a BitTorrent and just go for it. Okay, read, look at the
What?
controls.
And you gotta manage it. You can't just let it go. After it's done downloading, you're gonna be seeding
Don't walk
all
away.
your upload bandwidth away.
Babysit the damn thing.
Full
and
on,
shut it down when you're
unprotected,
done.
and seeding everything.
But
it.
it not that it's a bad thing to seed your public domain video and open source operating systems.
Of course,
Which is the only thing I ever use torrents for.
Yes.
fresh version of Linux.
Mm-hmm.
Unraid.
All right.
You should put all that stuff out there.
We've buried the lead. the reason, well, I mean, I'm happy that he's on at all, but the reason I asked Wendell, like, hey, could you shed some light on, well, Grace for one thing, but GTC in general, and NVIDIA obviously, and Jensen. I don't know where he's
talk about
been.
all the code names.
I don't know where he's been.
He's in his kitchen.
I guess.
Code name rundown.
You can't cut your hair with a spatula.
It's true. There were fewer
Apparently
spatulas this time,
can't.
I noticed. He seems to have scaled back on the spatulas. There were a few conventional ones mixed in.
The kitchen, it melted away.
Do you think it was really him, or was it an AI? Because there's two different leather jackets. There's some discrepancies in the video.
He's slowly turning into the PC Master Race guy.
Jensen's simulation. Is that what you're saying?
I think he might be. I don't know if I've never actually met him, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's a point.
He's the walking poster child of RTX technology. But GTC, it happened. It was not really consumer focused, but there'll be trickle down technology for consumers, of course, with their unified architecture thing. This is not an accurate photo here. This is not what he looked like.
No, he looked like Michio Kaku.
I need to find a better picture.
They definitely shopped his hair there.
Yeah, this is that's last year's or the year before. Some nice angled photos there. I need to find another article that has an accurate image.
Oh, sorry.
But
was me.
With hair effects on.
Yeah, dress effects. Wait, was that AMD or that was AMD?
No, sir, it was Tress Effects. You're right.
Yeah, that's
that was NVIDIA.
Hairworks. We're talking about Hairworks.
Yeah.
I've been looking, like Wendell, I've been looking around. I know that Serve the Home has been talking quite a bit about some of the overstated numbers, comparing, as they did on stage, this upcoming product. Is it Grace? Have I got that right?
Grace, yeah. Yeah, they sort of overstated a bunch of things.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's pretty crazy that they are this close to, as they were calling it, like reinventing the data center, where you can just go with okay, all right, let's hear a more reasonable discussion about this.
I mean, first off, I don't know. I've not got a hands-on with any of this stuff. I have gotten a chance to play a lot with Tesla and AI and large models that need 32 gigs of VRAM and blah blah blah, and all that's fun and good and stuff. NVIDIA is super excited about ARM. We get that. Honestly, like the thing about GTC, I think that some of the stuff they're doing on the software side is honestly a lot more exciting than the stuff that they really talked about at GTC. But I get that it would probably be hard to explain why some of the software stuff that they were doing is so cool, because it seemed like there was like 5 or 6 like legit software breakthroughs. Like they figured that out and they can actually compute that in a reasonable amount of time. I mean, one of the things they mentioned was like being able to do like trillion parameter TensorFlow things. And Google was doing that. Like Google had a big thing about 3 months ago saying, "Oh my gosh, we trained a trillion parameter neural network, blah blah blah." And of course, there's no detail here. Nobody's gone hands on with this. Nobody, how much of this is marketing fluff? Probably a lot of it. But in order for Google to do it, they had to basically do their own stuff at a foundry, build their own like probably Gen 4 Tensor cores or whatever. I don't even remember from the Google presentation. And Google has done like the hardware and software engineering in order to be able to do that. NVIDIA, it seems like, has just repurposed the R&D engineering that they're already doing on the hardware side, and they're delivering the software side of it to do some of the AI part of it. Now, where ARM fits in is like at a very high level, if you just want to think about it, GPUs are amazingly good at processing information, but they're amazingly bad at things like branchy code. And so how much CPU do you need for branchy code versus how much code do you need that can run in something that's highly vectorized or something that's highly parallel where each little core is separate? I mean, we talked about 8 and 16 cores in a CPU, and it's cajillions of transistors, but a GPU is, 1,500 cores and also a cajillion number of transistors. But, one core is not the same as another core. A regular compute core has fantastically complicated machinery because you could go a whole bunch of different ways. But in a GPU, it's a relatively simple compute unit for what it does. And so you're using ARM as the processor there. But the telling thing is that at the really high end, NVIDIA is still using EPYC. But they also have their ARM, which isn't bad, and I don't want to take that away from them. Because an ARM CPU can do a reasonably good job for the things that don't really run well on a GPU. And figuring all this out in software, Intel with their whole one API thing, this is a large part of one API. They don't want to make the programmers suffer needlessly from having to learn 75 different software stacks. But NVIDIA has taken CUDA and basically it looks to me like beating Intel to the punch on one API for all of the integration and all this stuff. And they didn't really talk about it in those terms, but it looks like that's what the tooling that they have is, which is why it's exciting. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's. I'm glad my video still is jacked. I turn it off and turn it on again, but anyway.
Play
you know,
more
there was
of
a
this
discussion between-
keynote while you talk. Sorry.
Yeah, there was a discussion between Patrick Moorhead, Patrick Kennedy, and David. Gosh dang it! Why is his name just escaping me? Cantor. Yep.
Oh yeah,
And
those are the smartest people,
the
for sure.
the big deal
Yeah.
with this is well, I'd make fun of Patrick Moorhead, but anyway, I'd like maybe a job one day in the future. But anyhow, terrible. But the aim is, I mean, the meat of the processing is all the GPUs. I mean,
Yeah.
those CPUs. I mean, they're gonna be doing work. But the aim is the GPUs, and the aim there is to feed it with as much data as possible. And so if you look at, kind of their diagrams there, you'll see that, with the EPYC processor, you've got, four memory controllers, I believe, or 4 lanes. I can't remember exactly. No, 4 controllers. Yeah. And you still have a lot of bottlenecks just sitting there in memory, because you've got terabytes and terabytes of potential storage, and you want to start feeding that to the GPU, but you don't have terabytes per second of memory bandwidth. And this is one of the areas that ARM, with their design with NVIDIA and Grace, is really pushing. You've got these super wide buses in between the main memory and the way they're doing the controllers. They didn't go into a lot of detail, but they're promising, literally the terabytes per second when, not only with the main memory, I'll look at my face, but also with the HBM memory on those A100s.
The link between A100s also means that instead of having 40 gigs or whatever per GPU, and that's your local pool, your pool of 8 GPUs that have 40 gigs each can basically be shared, because you can move stuff at almost a terabyte per second between GPUs on their own private bus.
Yeah, and
wasn't
so
like
I mean,
900.
IO and this sharing is the big thing with this. And I mean, they really don't care about teraflops per second on their new CPUs, or they're not anywhere close to that. But I mean, the spec int and that stuff, it's like, we don't care. I mean, we have a minimum amount that we want to do, but we want to shove all this stuff off to our A100s as fast as possible. And I mean, they're actually talking about using PCIe storage, PCIe 4.0 storage for a lot of this stuff, because what are some of the backplate technologies and current InfiniBand stuff like that previously, they had talked about, PCIe 4.0 for, servers and enterprise is not that big of a deal. Well, it's kind of becoming a big deal with this kind of implementation, and just, how much flash is and how inexpensive it is, and how quick a lot of these new controllers are, and everything in there that you can just have an amazing amount of throughput with the amount of lanes that they're throwing at this stuff.
Well, even like what we were talking about with the consolidation of stuff in the data center, like the connection stuff between servers is going away in favor of just PCI Express or things faster than PCI Express. So it's like, oh, I'm going to connect my server to my other server with 10 gig Ethernet or 100 gig Ethernet or InfiniBand. No, just PCI Express. Everything else is too slow and has too much latency. We need 16, 32, 64 lanes of PCI Express connectivity between local machines, because everything else is too slow. And this whole design bypasses all of that. So you can have a bunch of, relatively uncomplicated Lego bricks that can do, a terabyte per second, and you just stack those together with their own bus and we're not worried about coherency. So, a lot of those kinds of problems go away. And you end up with a ridiculous, real-time data processing thing that you couldn't do without on any other modern architecture.
We like Lego bricks.
And then you turned it into a software problem.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, now they're
Yeah,
ray
I mean-
traced.
Okay, so on the ray tracing side of things, DLSS, Jeremy, what did we learn at GTC for regular gamers out there outside of the data center? Anything
Well,
exciting?
literally, they did have a company showing how they'd done perfect Lego bricks with ray tracing, so that you could spec out your model before you even went and bought a brick.
But any surprise availability of
This is the
graphics
thing.
cards?
You know what? Everyone wasn't expecting it, and everyone got what they were expecting.
Perfect.
They did not have a whole bunch shoved in his oven that were suddenly going to be given out.
Well, he reserves those for those huge DGX things, right?
Yeah, where he tries to throw his back out by not lifting with his knees.
Yeah.
Now, it's been, I mean, if you're on the dev side or the architecture side, like we've been talking about, then GTC has been amazing. There's been a lot of really nifty stuff come out. And just sort of bridge from the previous discussion to this is the Omniverse Enterprise. They've been bringing up a whole bunch of different companies talking about this. And it's, as a gamer, this is actually going to
you mean the
matter to you
Matrix?
eventually. Well, I mean, yeah.
Omniverse. It's the seed of
It's
the
a-
Matrix.
It's a
Yeah,
different
it
verse.
was. That was the third verse.
Some of that stuff was terrifying.
Heard.
The idea that you can
It-
create buildings and factories virtually, and they have their
It's got actual physical based, laws, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's scary.
Hey, on the availability
It's
side,
the
I believe they
future.
predicted bad availability through most of the year.
oh yeah, yeah.
And,
I-
but to be catching up, marketing speak, we don't anticipate it lasting much beyond the entire year.
I find it very gratifying that my relentless negativity about product availability has been absolutely validated, because at 2020 people were talking about 2020 it's almost over. Yeah, 2021 is going to be worse. It's going to be just as
Yeah,
bad,
you
if
know
not
what?
worse, and it's far worse.
Your shitty attitude on this is totally justified.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks,
right on.
Brett. I got to find that edit point now. Gotta
Just
keep this family
realistic.
friendly, fucker. All right. Don't worry though. Look,
Sample
Intel,
that, Soren.
Team Blue. Let's talk about Team Blue for a second, because they're
Oh, we're just
steamrolling back to
bailing on
relevance.
NVIDIA.
Yeah, steamrolling back into relevance, because I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but there are very few cars being manufactured right now. The latest actually was something about a Realtek chip, which is astonishing. The fact that this is not necessarily car related, but the fact that we may be, oh no, we've lost Josh. We've lost Josh.
He-
We're
he-
entirely
Yeah,
deaf.
Jeremy-
You
Jeremy
cut
talked
off
about some
GTC.
sort of-
and
His
started
ring light-
talking
his ring
about
light
Realtek.
turned off.
It's went out.
Oh, I wonder if
exactly.
all of this was ring light related.
Oh, it probably
Is your
is.
ring light
Jeremy Ladd-
consuming a lot of? Is that IoT?
It probably is.
It's all USB
dollar-
anyway. So
Oh, okay.
A dollar chip that he talked about last week was actually holding up car production for a display driver was like a 90-cent chip that they couldn't make enough of. So,
Yes.
this is just problem is much bigger than buying a GPU.
But Intel to the rescue,
Yes.
because
Yes.
they can take advantage of their, massive foundry space to
On
produce
really,
chips.
really much larger
Yeah.
process
Oh, yeah.
nodes than
What do you think
we're
this will be, like
used to.
22 nanometer?
22.
20, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because most of these were 25 to 40 nanometers, if I remember correctly. So the 22 was actually a step up. And the nice thing is that they're saying, within like 6 months, we might actually have some space, if you can fork over the money, that we can start putting out some of the basic chips that your car relies on. Be it, the simple display driver, like I was talking about before, so that your heads-up display and that works, to the chip that registers whether or not your power lock is set to on or not, or your intelligent braking.
One of
So it'll be interesting.
one of the people that I hang out with works in one of the things, and he has an amazing drunk rant on this, and like there's a shortage of stuff, but one of the things that he was ranting about was like we did it to ourselves, because he talked about how there's some like a power transistor that's on like a 300, nanometer process or whatever. I don't know. It's some ancient CMOS process. And he's like, we always ordered from this one supplier, and it was the only one. They were the only one that still had the equipment, and we stopped buying at the beginning of the pandemic. And so they shut the equipment down, and they just brought in other equipment. And then we were like, hey, we need to buy more. And they're like, I guess we'll set up that equipment again. And then nothing worked, and they couldn't, because they'd already reused the space because it was 6 months later. And he said that there were 3 or 4 components that were like that they were just so old. And one of the things they're worried about is they have an ASIC, and they have some of the stuff for the ASIC, but like they can get fab space to have the ASIC made somewhere else, but they don't have a design for the processes that are available. And so they're like, well, the original person that worked on this is gone, and we don't know if we have enough documentation for this ASIC to do what we want. So we're going to have to redesign this ASIC because it's like the stuff, the masks or whatever that we have don't really directly translate to the modern lithography process. And so he just had an amazing rant about that. And it's like that one aspect of automotive technology, at least my friends thought, was that it was a self-inflicted wound because they just weren't doing their maintenance the whole way. And when they were just like, oh yeah, just-in-time manufacturing is amazing, we're just not going to order some stuff this week. And then their suppliers were like, okay, sounds good. And they moved on to more profitable things.
Yep.
It's like
This
the
crap
butterfly
reminds
effect.
me of the old POTS systems. Like our basic telephone infrastructure is falling apart because the techs that worked on it were very jealous about their knowledge and wouldn't bloody well share it, or what parts actually needed in the specifications of what replacement parts go in. And of course there was the book locked up in the cage. And so now, of course, the actual basic infrastructure of it is falling apart because no one knows what the hell they're doing, and no one knows where to source the parts when things break. So we just get the pretty-ass new stuff.
Or where the spec was wrong, and where experience said, yeah, do this.
Oh yeah, the workarounds, the undocumented workarounds.
Yeah. That
No,
only
2 millimeter
experience
piece of
can
copper
teach you.
actually is what you want here.
Exactly. The spec says nothing goes here. Trust me. 2 millimeter piece of copper is what you need.
Yep.
Hey, power is apparently
one
go ahead.
last thing though is
Yes.
that this sets up Intel to be the good guy. Secondly, I think as Josh was saying before he blacked out, literally, was that this is putting them in a position to say, hey, we've got fab space for everybody. Come on in. So they're building that fab in, what is it, Texas or Arizona, right? I don't remember.
Arizona.
Right down in the Arizona.
Where there's a
And they've
lot
already-
of water.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, well, they can truck it in. Don't worry, that's the
Forget
trend
about it.
now. Is
Forget
you
about
truck
it.
in water to
There's-
your fab.
There's going to be a run on water trucks like there was in Taiwan. But anyway, the point is that this sets up their position to be a fab of, if you need us, we'll be here for you kind of thing. They're looking to sell their capacity. They've already said that they're going to be a good guy
Well, it's
in this
been
space.
huge.
Yeah.
Right? They've been
So-
talking that up for the last couple of months. It's like, no, we've got
Yes,
you
exactly.
want to invest in our
They
fabs.
still have more clean room than anybody else in the world.
Oh, there you go.
They just do.
Except the
So-
one Alan got into.
Well,
'cause
any
Alan
place
just
Alan
walked into
goes
it.
is
It
instantly
was
dirty.
clean.
That's
yeah,
what I
mean,
meant.
they probably
Exactly what I meant.
There's
they
now
made him put on a
gelato
bunny suit. He probably
everywhere.
had to shower down beforehand.
It's not gelato. He's just
It's
excited to
cream
be there.
cheese.
Yeah. He's
I
a
will
very
say-
hairy man.
I
He's
will
very
say-
hairy.
Well, not on top. I will say that none of these issues they've had happened until Alan had visited the facility. That's all I'm saying. Like maybe something he did 10 years ago created a chain reaction.
That's why they hired him, is to fix it, eh?
It could be, yeah. I mean, maybe just on the storage side. But hey, speaking of
Keep
foundries,
talking about him enough. He'll be in
speaking
the
of
sixth
people
square.
wearing bunny suits, did you know there was a power outage at TSMC? The unthinkable TSMC, who makes
Everything.
most of the things that we
everything.
use. Yeah. That AMD was reliant upon, that, Sony, Microsoft, they need AMD. They need TSMC. Gamers need TSMC on desktop. Everybody does. They had a power outage. Apparently it's been restored. But any kind of power outage on any line is not good when everything's already backed up.
There are many
to Wendell's
ruined
point,
wafers in
we're
power outages.
so it's so delicate. A backhoe took out TSMC and ruined
A
as
single
Josh
backhoe.
just said, yeah, millions of, probably more, millions of dollars worth of in-flight wafers.
I want more
there'll be a
details.
fine, there'll be a fine against them to compete against the one just levied by Egypt against the owners of the Everclear.
No.
Oh, that's funny though.
$1 billion.
Yeah,
It's funny until
That
that
back-
thing that you desperately need is unavailable for months.
right.
Apparently,
that backhoe dude
coffee and
was
scotch were on
brave.
there.
but-
There was scotch on there?
Yes,
Oh, that's sad.
coming for the West Coast.
No, it was going north to south.
I know, but apparently there was scotch on there. I don't.
Well, it had to have been
explain
crap
shipping,
Taiwan, or maybe some of the Japanese whiskey.
which ain't crap.
Whoa, Josh, I
it's
think
1
your
month
video
older.
just came back. Look at this.
It's 1 month older
Did it?
now.
It's back.
It did.
Wow.
It's like 360p,
I didn't do
but it's
anything.
back.
Yeah,
Your kid
This
killed
is my
his
shtick you're stealing.
stream.
Yeah, look,
I'm the one that's
Jeremy's
supposed to have
video,
Canadian packets.
it's smooth, it's consistent. Josh, I mean,
Right.
oh, it's coming back. It might be up to 480 almost.
Okay.
I have high hopes. The after show is going to be great.
Oh yeah.
Let's take a short break. Podcast sponsor break number 2.
Number 2, this is from Clear. So fly safe and easier with Clear. Believe it or not, people will start traveling again. This is a way to do it more quickly.
Yes.
So is Scientology suing them for trademark infringement?
Is it an acronym or are they just
Clear?
yeah?
No,
they're just
Clear?
going
No,
clear
it's
is a Scientology.
it's a-
Yeah, going clear.
It's a
Which level?
pre-clear
how much?
security.
How much you have to pay to get to level 4?
How much you got, son? There's a lot of thetans in there. Oh, we're dead, aren't we?
You best stop now because yes.
No. Look, this will all be edited out of the final version. Whenever Brett decides to come back. There we go. All right.
Hey.
We're back. Quickly, let's talk about Be Quiet with their new PSU lineup. This is
Wait,
the...
how can it always confuses me how you can talk about be quiet.
You can talk about being quiet.
That's like don't move, get on the ground.
Oh wait, look, it's show and tell time.
It is.
Okay.
See, what does he have?
Actually, I got this today.
Ooh, the Pro.
Yep. This is a dark.
Gods!
I know. I went and weighed
That's
it.
a kilowatt, all right.
I went and weighed it. This weighs 15 pounds, or for those of you in metric, it's 0.0068 metric tons.
Yeah,
know
that
that.
sounds about right.
That's incredibly rare.
Yep.
It's a PSU of over 1,000 watts that
This is-
exists.
Yep.
Probably like 500.
So we're going to do an opening on this
current
later.
market.
A little live
Okay,
opening.
hey, there you go.
Yep. So this is incredibly rare. This is for testing procedures. So I can see how that works. Ugh.
Now, not
See, I hit
actually
the
one of
floor.
the announced power supplies though, because they're more on the budget side than the Pro. This is the Pure Power 11 FM, and they have new SFX PSUs, right?
That's true.
So
Oh,
just a
no,
quick
it's the
update here.
TFX.
Oh, what is TFX?
So a TFX is about 6.9 by 3.3 by 2.6 inches. If you're having trouble figuring that out, it is slightly smaller than 3 whiskey Bibles.
Hold on, let me go back.
I'm sorry, what?
It is slightly smaller than 3 whiskey Bibles.
Why do you
so
have
they're-
3?
Because there's a new one every year.
Okay,
No, actually,
all
and I
right.
haven't bought them in a while because I've got enough of them that I've learned the lingo. And that one I bought in Scotland on a ferry off to Elis. So, I mean,
TFX.
that's sort of the best one I will ever get. But, you know, I was looking for something to sort of explain because it's smaller than like a George R.R. Martin paperback. And it's for your tiny little systems. And the nice thing about Be Quiet with the exclamation mark is that these things run under 30 decibels. There's 2 TFX. There's a bronze and the TFX is the one that's bang out. It's about 29 decibels, running at 100%. But if it backs off, because small systems are sort of designed to be, quiet, at standby draws 0.17 watts, which is just, brilliant for a 300 watt PSU. The
How many
SFX
metric tons is that?
It's
Different unit of measure.
slightly
Okay,
more
sorry.
than zero.
So these are
Zero
300,
is
300 watt
zero.
power supplies.
Yes, for the TFX. So the bronze is a little bit louder. The gold is significantly quieter. You've got the SFX again, if you want it in 300 with a little bit more, and then of course the Pure Power 11s, which are more likely the ones you're going to buy, which are the full sized ATX with 120 millimeter fans. And at 100% low, the 750 watt model was 24.8 dBA. Your case fans are probably going to compete with that. If you could ever buy a video card one day, it would definitely drown them out. So, it's nice. The prices are a little bit on the high side, at least from my feelings. Like a 750 watt for $115 is, you're paying for how quiet it is. And in a way, that's fair. Especially since you can probably actually buy them.
Hey, speaking of things you can buy, we keep on pointing this out. You can buy CPU coolers. You can buy GPU coolers for a 3080 if you want to go, the liquid cooling route. You just can't actually buy the GPU. But you can get the water block for it. But you can also buy...
And light it up. Keep it on your desk.
Yeah, keep it on your desk as a decoration. You can buy coolers, CPU coolers. I don't know, Wendell, have you played around with one of these huge
Yes.
ice giant
The
things?
Ice Giant Pro
I thought I
Siphon.
saw a build
Yes.
in your massive
This
Define
thing is
7
crazy.
XL.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I have never
just,
seen this until this review.
Yeah, 64 core Threadripper desktop edition. I just built it. I was not expecting it to do as well as it did. See, because with the thermosiphon, they actually work better when all the heat is not concentrated in one little area. So, like for a 5950X, it's like, but for a Threadripper, because you get the I/O die and all the chiplets spread all over everywhere,
That's what I was thinking.
my 360. I had a 360 millimeter AIO, but I needed it for Threadripper Pro because I'm testing Threadripper Pro, and so I got one of this for my regular 64 core Threadripper, and it can run it with PBO, and it's no sweat. Like it just doesn't even care. So this thing competes with a 360 millimeter AIO, and I'm actually kind of shocked at how well it performs. It is shocking that
Did
it
you
works
slap
as well
all
as it
four
does.
fans on?
Yes, all four fans
Okay,
are
good.
on.
You have to, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
pretty
does
much.
does this have any kind of like a vapor chamber, or is it just heat pipes and a radiator?
It's not
it's-
pipes.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's a fluid with a low boiling point, and so that's
Okay.
why it has to be oriented a certain way. In a desktop configuration, anyway, is fine because gravity is going to pull the liquid back down. But it's slightly asymmetrical, so the radiator has to sit a little above the cold plate so that the fluid can run back down. See, normally you're relying on capillary action, not really, but like the centering to like pull stuff back down. But when you've got the liquid and the phase change thing going on, it's a dramatic world of difference when it comes to the cooling capacity.
Right, it's like an old style fridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you bump it, it's going to get upset, just like your old fridge. But yeah, I kind of want to play with that.
It just looks amazing. It's like
Yeah,
the size
it
of
works
two
really well.
graphics cards.
In a fractal case, if you move, because you can move that little metal thing to like hide your sins in the
Yeah.
front there.
Yeah.
It fits there perfectly, and so like I don't know, it just works out really well. You can't change the RAM easily, and it like you have to put the fans on after installing it. So if you want to take it out to do your RAM, you got to take out 8 screws for the fans and then 2 screws for the heatsink. Is the most annoying thing about it, but yeah, 500 watts in a 64 core Threadripper running at like 3.9 gigahertz all core. It's no sweat. Yeah, that's the setup. I mean, it's just
Base on the top, eh?
yeah. Well, it's open. Yeah, that one's open in the top because it's the Meshify. But yeah, I may move the top 2 fans to the very top of the case to exhaust it. I think that would probably help it. But in this configuration, it was working shockingly well.
Wait, do
Because
you
yeah,
have
that
the
keyboard up top is
is it-
really doing wonders
Well,
for airflow.
Is it venting
That
out the
was fun.
top? at all?
That was this keyboard. So yeah. I mean,
okay.
but that was just for Twitter. This was laying up there. This is the Model M. This
Oh,
it
it's a
wasn't
wee
there
thing.
very long because here it is. So
Is that the new one, or is that a vintage that you've restored?
no, this is the new one. The one back there.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, that one. That one's the original one, and then there's a Japanese one, a Japanese Model M there because Model M's didn't have Windows keys and stuff, but the Japanese version had a lot of extra keys, and you could remap those. But this is the new version.
That sounds great. Yeah, how's the new tooling? Is it smooth key travel? Any kind of play?
No,
It doesn't look
it's-
great somehow.
Well, it's slightly more narrow, so it's like
Oh, for sure.
6 millimeters more narrow. It's not a lot. It's just a little thinner on the edges. They put the numlock and scroll lock lights up here, which is sort of odd. They went with USB Type A, which is they did that for mechanical reasons, I'm sure. But it's like a locking Type A connector. There's a release clamp, but it's A to A, which is sort of it's like I have to have a USB A to A cable.
I believe that's against the spec. I don't believe you're actually supposed to do that.
Yeah, but they've no doubt done that because it's the Type A connector is mechanically stronger than a Type B connector, which is really dumb on the part of the spec. The keyboard is the only thing that doesn't feel like. I mean, I'm a vintage Model M user, and they've done a good job. The space bar doesn't feel quite right, but it's not annoying.
Okay.
Not enough of a thunk. Is that what it is?
It
The
feels
funkiness.
the
It's a
regular
spring back,
keys,
isn't it?
yeah, the regular keys feel sharper somehow, and the space bar feels slower.
Now, if you can find
It's
one
like
of the
there's
old
too
vintage
much-
keyboard condoms for it, put that
Oh,
on
what
it.
now?
It might actually feel the keyboard condoms. You must have known
Oh,
someone who
yeah.
plastic wrapped it like furniture.
Yeah, I
I
have
knew
2 or
someone.
3 Model M's that have never been opened, so
Jealous.
just saving those for a special day.
Hold on, I'm logging back in. It logged me out of my
What were you saying, Josh?
session.
Well, Sebastian's doing something.
Yeah.
Oh, it was yeah, but it looks like, is there just one switch right directly underneath the space bar? Because you hit the side of the space bar and it it's going to wobble
Wobbles.
and it doesn't have a straight Thank goodness
Oh
for
God! Look at what he's doing.
no. It's got
No, that's
two or
right.
three.
That's right. Okay.
It's got one. It's got one
Yeah,
switch,
it's just the one. There is
and it's not
actually
even
an optional.
centered.
Yeah, no. Well, no. We do have the
It's
metal
not
bar
centered.
Oh, okay.
though. Yeah, it's not centered.
Middle bar is
That
right.
helps.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, you
that's
want
that,
to-
there's your problem.
That's
You can
wrong.
fix that. So not very easily.
I've got the Model F too. I splurged and got the Model F reproduction. Now that is a keyboard. It might have been the grease
Better?
after all. Yeah.
Did you lovingly lubricate
fixed it.
each of those key switches? Oh, here we go. He's going back to the shelf.
Ah, the real deal.
That's
yeah,
it.
here we go. Let's listen to
The old
this.
school one.
Oh yeah.
So you can definitely. You can see, like, yeah, it's definitely this may be mass related though, because the mass of this keyboard is about twice the mass of that one, but fewer keys. But in terms of the tooling and stuff, I mean, you can kind of see on the back. It's easier to see on that one because it's black, but you can see all the injection marks from where all the stuff is. This one is vintage '88, so this is one of the more recent Space Saver Model M's. And this one is number 265. So you can kind of see the tool marks in roughly the same place. It's definitely a new mold, but I didn't really change much as far as I can tell. I mean,
Oh no.
it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, they're well made.
Oh, it's funny. It's such a tiny difference, but it's visually just immediate. The amount of
Yeah.
time that I spent on those keyboards.
Yeah.
Plus, the black will always look a little bit smaller, I think, in comparison to the off-white. It's an optical illusion.
It is.
He broke it.
I lost the keycap. This one is the removable keycaps. So it's like a 2-stage kind of a deal. So I'm taking the cap off, but the key's still there, and the other one is
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
it's just the one piece. So
That was so you could swap them around for your friends.
More mass.
It's like
Yeah.
a double shot. It's a
Grab the other
2-stage.
Yeah.
Just got to try to find it.
this is my daily driver forever, just so I can have more Meta keys. These are not Windows keys; they're just Japanese. But this one is, this one's from like '92, give or take. So I just wanted, more keys. This was the only option before the retooling, I guess. You have to have buckling spring, and can't live without buckling spring. But you also need more keys. So that was a quick fix.
Is there any, in your opinion, Wendell, because you're on the subject, is there any mechanical key switch currently produced by Cherry or anybody
Here
that's
we go.
relatively close to the tactile experience? Or no, not even close?
I mean, it's a lot of the cherry switches are not bad. It's just different. So
Yeah. Okay. So nothing's really the same. Anybody out there who has never used a buckling spring keyboard, they won't really understand, I guess. Because it's not just about the clickiness or a tactile feeling. It's the overall, the weight, the springiness, it's like the recoil,
yeah, the reds, is it reds? I think that are vaguely close.
Yeah, depending on implementation, I've used some Reds that were almost a little bit like it, but it has to be like PBT double shot keycaps and a stiff housing and just the right, because those are linear, like 45 gram actuation.
Yeah, they don't actuate until you get the click either.
Well, the blues don't actuate. Until
I
you
don't
get the
think
click.
I don't think people really realize how annoying it was to be in a computer lab with 20 teenagers typing on those damn things. I mean, it was. Here I am in 1986, my freshman year, going into a computer lab, and we got all IBM PCs, and everybody's got those damn keyboards.
Who cares about everybody else? Just
Well, let me tell you, it's a lot of fun on conference calls.
You guys all had your own computer? I mean, we all had Tektronix stuff
Stop
connected to a
it.
VAX 11785.
This is my freshman
Running
year. This is
BSG.
pretty late.
Oh, come on. I grew up with a Bionic Beaver, for Christ's sakes. Complain about Icon for me.
You know the Alps keyboards; those are still around
Yep.
too. So those have a unique feel.
I was reminded of them a couple weeks ago. I had to take apart part of my center console because my wife and son conspired to spill an entire McDonald's chocolate milk down into it. And all the controls for the radio and navigation and stuff were destroyed. And I'm taking it all apart, and these are Alps switches in the buttons to switch between navigation, music. Like, oh, nice. All that stuff was made by Alps and covered in chocolate milk. But it cleaned.
Just put it in the
Cleaned
dishwasher;
nicely.
it'll be fine.
I washed it in the
Dishwasher.
sink by hand with Dawn and paper towels, and it actually worked after I dried it all out and put it back together again. To round out our topics on the list, Jeremy, what is Gord, please? What is this?
It is a wooden settlement populated by freemen.
Okay.
I don't
No one
understand.
gets it. I mean, it's too subtle for this crowd, apparently.
Yes.
You'll eventually get it. The joke doesn't have that much of a half-life, though. So this is, what if
Well, that
you were
kind of
doing-
free man.
Yeah.
Oh.
Gordon.
I could have made the Dune joke, but that's been,
Oh.
delayed. Yeah, I know. Sometimes I am disappointed in my fans. Mostly not, though. So it's, Frostpunk went for city builder, but, in a really horrible place where everyone's going to freeze to death. This is city builder, but let's say it's like Dark Souls or Blood Rain. And so you pick a group of people that are going to try and live in here. It's an RPG, so you don't get a bloody hero or the chosen one. You just have a bunch of people living in this little boxed off area, this little wooden area, trying to survive. And any time that they wander out into the great unknown, they run into horrible mythological creatures, which, of course, are trying to eat them, as well as whatever it is that they were hoping to get out there, be it wood or food or, just trying to bloody well survive a trip out to get some berries. So it looks kind of interesting and a little bit horrifying. There's only just this one launch video. That's literally all we've got. It's from one of the former guys that used to work for CD Projekt Red before it went interesting. So, I look at it and I think it can be interesting. It could also be horribly implemented. They're talking about setting up your own objectives so you can choose which monsters are going to be out there, which area you're going to be in. Like, do you want to be in the Black Forest? Do you want to be in the Black Forest with ocean? Do you want to be in the Black Forest with lake? So keep an eye on it. It could well be very interesting for those of you that like Darkest Dungeon, the Cthulhu stuff, Dark Souls, and, just your average city builder. Fingers crossed. This one might be interesting. It just might not be.
Well, on that
Fingers
note,
crossed.
yes. Hey, we've actually reached nearly the end point. Brett, we do have one feature review from you this week. Corsair.
Yeah.
I feel like just last week they had a new keyboard, and now they have another new keyboard.
Man, I am just killing it with keyboards. So this is the K70 TKL, which is obviously 10 keyless. And let me just get a little bit further away here so you can actually see the
Those
whole thing.
white keycaps?
I actually got a set of keycaps from him to give it a makeover. It does not come with white keycaps, but I thought I would give them a try and pull them all off. And one with the white, I kind of like it. It's a little different than your standard black look. Full RGB, of course. There's a system on a chip in this now, and Corsair is embedding this SoC on here with their own operating system, a real-time OS for increased response and programmability. It's got its own RAM, own memory for different patterns and different macros and different applications that you might want to program into this. As I was trying to show earlier, let me just pull a few of these off here. Obviously, I used the dampening ring underneath these when I pull all the keycaps off. I would actually prefer them without the dampening ring. I'll play a little keyboard music on this later, but as you can see, these are Cherry Reds. Very nice linear switch. I like, they're fast. This keyboard's fast. Not a lot of thunk to it, but it's a solid deck. This is an aluminum top, plastic bottom. Very little flex. Stands, of course, for standard, liftoff and all that. USB-C back here. Transport controls on the keyboard for videos and audio and things like that. Roller volume, infinite roller volume that just continues to roll over. The additional transport controls on the other side. Windows lockout and what they call a sort of a gaming lockout on the back. I don't know if you can see this over here. There's a switch here that sort of sets this thing into a different mode. You can't really tell that it just changed color because I was
Competition mode.
They call it competition mode, exactly. What it does is it locks out all of the macros, locks out the return to Windows key. I believe it increases certain response times. You can even lock out. Let me flip this up and demonstrate.
So
this
it's
right
the
here.
blame
Take a
your
picture.
tool mode.
It is. Actually, I actually mentioned this in the review, saying, you know what? Any sucky gameplay of mine can no longer be blamed on the response time of my keyboard.
Yeah.
So I'm going to actually transition to this keyboard on a gaming PC that I'm going to finish building at some point. I liked it that much. I liked the 10 keyless form factor for the amount of space it doesn't take up on your desk. I really like the linear Cherry MX Reds on here. It's my kind of key. Very, like I said, linear. Let me play a little keyboard music here for you if it comes through. If it's working at all. Working? Yes? No?
It is
Maybe.
better than last week. Yes.
It's got a bit of a thunkiness to it, but it's a little muted because of the dampening rings that I use. Like I said, my personal preference would be to rekey this without the dampening rings, but it's kind of going to be kind of a pain to pull them all off and pull the rings off them because they get, they're jammed up, under the stems right now, and I got to go in and dig them all out of there. If you can see the rings, there's these little. You probably can't focus on that; it's too close. Anyway, there's a small silicon dampening ring that you put around the stem, and that sort of mutes this. This is not a loud keyboard. They're mechanical, of course, but not a particularly loud switch. I really like this one. I'm going to use it.
What's the actual switch name? Is it just Cherry Red or is it Cherry
Reds?
Silent?
Yep.
Or okay.
No, these are not the Silents. There's a Cherry Red Silent. That's not these.
Okay.
These are just the standard Cherry MX Reds, and no problems at all. And again, this has got a Corsair's SoC in it with their what they're calling their Axon AXON real-time operating system for increased response and programmability. I got to say, it actually is working for them. You got to kind of get along with their host software, IQ. If you can get your way through that, you can sort of get it mapped out and program it, and as long as you can deal with that, it's fine. I also reviewed this mouse at the same time. Let me see if I can pull this out of this tangle of keys on my desk without flipping away from all my software. So this is a reasonable mouse. I don't like the bulk of it for gaming purposes. It's just a little bit too big. DPI switch on the side there. I actually would like it a little bit more contoured. This is very orthogonal, meaning it's kind of like the same shape, very similar shape on both sides. I like a little more concavity.
So it's symmetrical.
On this,
is it ambidextrous?
It's symmetrical. No, it's not.
It's just ever so slightly.
It's right-handed. It's for right-handed people.
I see that. Yeah.
But this is not one of my favorites. Although it's very clicky. Let me just move someplace where I'm not going to end up, clicking on something bizarre. Okay, so it's very clicky. I don't know if that's coming through or not. The clicking motion is very, very fast. It's using their zero uptake technology inside of this, which means they've reduced all of the dead space inside here between the switch. Yeah, exactly. Zero gap. Very fast. Relatively light. Only I think 73, 74 grams. There's lighter mice, with holes drilled in them and such. But I kind of like the Qatar mouse, which is actually cheaper than this one, as a speedy, and it's a little bit more shaped, a little bit lower profile. It's just my personal preference. But this is a very good mouse from a response center. The chip in it is I think it's 3392. Does that sound right?
It sounds like a chip.
Yeah, well, it's got up to 18,000 DPI or something.
Oh yeah,
ridiculous.
We all need that. Yes.
No, Pixar's put out a lot of sensors recently.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, it's just that DPI is just way too high. Unless you're doing ridiculous mouse acceleration, you got to turn all that stuff off for precision. But what I do enjoy about IQ and mice recently is the surface tuning, and I made mention of this in the review. Is that I actually discovered it makes a difference. I was not really gelling with this mouse at first, and I had moved it from different computers, different desks, different surfaces, and the IQ software does interface nicely with the mouse pickup and the optical pickup, and really does tune it to the surface and the pattern that you have on whatever you're, sliding it around on. And it makes a big difference, actually. If you haven't done it, definitely do this. And it's much appreciated. So thanks for that. It also actually incorporates one of their SoCs and real-time operating system environments.
Well, that's how you get the 8,000 hertz polling rate.
That's actually a good point. You actually don't get that high polling rate on your run-of-the-mill CPU. You actually do need a significantly provision CPU in order to get that polling rate across USB. It
But
just
at least
doesn't
it's not a
happen.
half-assed USB hack.
It's
From what I
it's
read,
not.
this
It's
one
for
is
real.
actually full on.
It's for real. It's for real, and they really mean it. That you do need a reasonably provisioned PC in order to, or Mac. It
So,
works on
Brett,
both.
how was the experience when you were
Yeah.
screwing around on your Hackintosh with this thing? Or did you
It
actually
worked
use a real
great.
PC to review this?
Both.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Did you take it to
And I
Micro
want to say,
Center?
I don't want. No, we can talk about that in a minute.
No.
I want to say
No,
that
please
all the
don't.
transport controls and IQ and everything worked great on my Macintosh as
Oh,
well as
brother.
my,
Okay.
my Windows machine. I know you
All
love
right.
It
that. sort of
accepted that it
stuff.
had
Your
more than
M1
one button.
Did it work on your M1 Macintosh?
I do not have an M1 yet, although
Why not?
just to answer a question that somebody asked in the Discord the other day, the reason I bought an Intel 10850 is
brother.
because it is the last CPU that'll be supported for Macs.
Of course. There had to be a reason.
Yeah, that was the reason.
Yeah.
Somebody guessed that, and that's actually true.
Oh, yeah,
It'll be the
Until
last one.
2030
With my-
when they suddenly switch over to Power 12.
Nah, I mean my after that one, this will probably last me like 3 or 4 plus years, and then I'll probably have to buy some sort of M variant in order to stay with Apple.
You know, I saw an advertorial about Parallels running on the M1 Max now, and
It does work.
I was like, oh wow, okay, so
Yep.
it's like the old Virtual PC days. Apparently, it's just the Windows on ARM variant though.
Oh, that doesn't
So
sound good.
no, they're like run many apps, including Office, and they're like, yeah, of course, like the select apps that run on Windows on ARM.
Yeah.
already. Okay.
No,
So
that
I wonder
does
what
not sound like a lot of
x86
fun.
emulation is like on an M1 for Windows in a VM.
Have you ever slid down a banister the wrong way?
Oh, so it's fast, is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Anyway-
a little bit
anyway,
painful.
Oh, so one of the final things on they actually did some measurements. NVIDIA actually, their sort of response time mechanism that kit that they came out with that allowed you to put a sensor on the screen and put something on the USB, and they actually discovered that this mouse was one of the fastest, if not the fastest, mice available. So that's an interesting claim
Hey.
to fame for it being so new. Seriously. So if you're a serious gamer, you probably want to look in these Axon equipped Corsair peripherals.
Excellent.
Give them a close look.
And
And they're
give
not
a
stupidly expensive either.
No, they're
What was
actually
pricing like on the
Some
mouse?
ones, yeah.
let me scroll up here real quick. I think the mouse was about 69. Let me check on that. Let me check.
Okay.
Yeah,
the
it was
pricing on the
about
mouse.
70,
Nice.
75 bucks, I think.
Mouse was 59. I heard that. And the
Not nearly
keyboard
as
was
nice.
140, 139 on the keyboard.
139. Okay. Well, yeah, you're
Yeah.
paying for the aluminum top panel, and
Well, what you're paying for is individual key by key RGB, man.
well, that's just
Jeremy
commonplace
knows.
now.
Jeremy knows.
'Cause that's
It's
just
not
built into
common.
the. It is key per
It's
key
so,
lighting.
like, the keyboard that I reviewed last week had 3-zone.
That's because you were reviewing
Corsair
an
keyboard.
Office keyboard. It was a
The
membrane
G
keyboard.
Zone.
Well, that's
Because-
right. Josh knows.
Yeah.
The Cherry Key is the
you start
RGB
there,
variant
you're
of the Cherry
good.
Key is individually lit.
You're absolutely right.
Let's-
Because
let's-
because the last ones were rubber dome. These are real Cherry MX RGB keys. So yeah, obviously per key RGB. Yeah.
Okay, let's cut this short. I don't want to take up too much of Wendell's time this
Give
evening.
me 3 things of nail polish in 20 minutes,
We-
and I can have perky RGB too.
Speaking of perkiness, Josh has enhanced his look lately, except for this week when he went back
He
in
pressed-
time to the
Press the
2400
enhance button.
baud era. But Josh, kick off picks of the week for us.
You know what? If you need a quick and inexpensive lighting solution that actually works for $36, you get like a stinking 60-inch stand, 12-inch ring light. It's got the control. It's USB powered. Color
You can adjust
and,
the temperature.
intensity.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah.
And you
You
should.
got 3 settings.
And you should.
And I did, because this is the warmest, and I'll tell you that white is pretty. Well, do you want to see it?
Yeah, let's see the live
Yes.
demonstration.
Yeah.
Well-
Let's see the 3 different modes.
See, that's really. So there's warm,
That's
There's
natural.
white.
Looks natural. A little cold.
and then the bluish white. Yeah, and the warmest is obviously the nicest for my skin tone. But yeah, it's not going to be 64,000 tones, but it works and it's inexpensive, and it comes with a reasonable stand that's fairly firm and attachments for cell phone if you do such a thing. But it's just a decent ring light for only $36.
So have you started posting videos to TikTok yet, or?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I
haven't
thought
done anything.
when you could see the ring in your eyes or your glasses, I thought that automatically meant that you were like a TikTok broadcaster.
Well, I do my duck lips and get
Lord.
close to the.
Okay. Showing his age here. That's so passe now.
Ah,
If you're not
those in a
up and
while,
dancing,
Josh.
it's all about dancing and lip syncing. That's what
It
it
is.
is.
yes. Wendell knows.
Yeah. I mean, look, at some point it's just a source of income. So. Oh.
It's keyboard music.
All right. Who's next? Jeremy,
Yeah.
your pick.
Well, I'll get up and dance.
Oh no.
Or
These guys.
I have a real chair now.
You got a new
And
chair?
I've got a good source for them if you're Canadian. I've also lost my earplugs. So I can't hear a thing you're saying yet.
We're not saying anything. We're not saying anything.
Well, that's too bad.
Oh.
You had your chance. So this is a company that, because for some, strange reason, a lot of companies are getting rid of their office furniture and doing so in a professional manner so that you can sort of get your hands on it. So this in particular is a Hon Ignite 2.0, which up in Canada usually retails for between $800 to $1,000. It's not one of your human scale chairs. It's not one of your Aran chairs that, the management likes to, oh no, you've only got $200 for the server, but because we spent everything on the $2,500 chairs that we're buying for everyone. This was $400 free shipping right to my door. So the company that does this, which, apparently I've got.
Oh, what are you doing?
Got
Hey
something
there,
on my
they
space
ship
bar.
to the USA.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. And if you check your US prices, the prices vary depending on the time, because if they get a big shipment in of stuff, the prices obviously go down. And as far as I know, the shipping to the US is free as well. You can get some seriously nice ergonomic chairs for about half the price you'd normally pay for them, and that are occasionally on sale at various other places. But when you add in the shipping, they're going to charge you $100 because the chair is not easy to ship. I know that it's cool to buy the gaming chair with a headrest and everything, but they're horrible for your back. And at this point, mine's barely hanging on by a thread, so I need something good. So for the Hon, I would say, it does feel like it's the lower end of the high-end chairs, but it does everything I need it to. And the price was brilliant. And this cushion, I swear they've shoved about 15 pounds worth of foam into it. It's going to last a little while. Not very long. The kitten's already chewed a hole in one of the arms, but...
Oh, no.
Well, what do you do? They're kittens.
I struggle to bring anything nice into the home if I had young animals. Or young children, really, for that.
I was going to
matter.
say,
What's the difference?
You're being redundant there.
Well,
just
okay, my
talking
son
about
doesn't actually
chocolate ice
chew
cream?
through things. He hasn't done that.
I don't know. I've seen that. I've seen that Enterprise toy of yours.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
When he was young, I never should have given him. Look, don't give your young child Diamond Select Star Trek toys. They're not durable. They'll break the nacelles off, which he did repeatedly.
Where are your Buck Rogers collectibles? I've never seen them.
Ooh,
You.
I don't have any
Don't you
Buck
have any?
Rogers stuff. No. I have Star Trek.
I always looked for that when I was a child, and nobody ever carried the Buck Rogers toys. I always liked the design of their fighter. But anyway, let's move along.
Yes, let's.
Yeah. Brett, I think you have a pick.
I do. This is a pretty simple one. I'm actually building one of my first open, design it myself, water cooling environments. That's not like an AIO or anything like that. So I thought this particular device was really, really pretty cool. It is an inline water temperature sensor for only $15. And you can plug this into one of the temperature sensor inputs on, I guess, higher end motherboards. A lot of them have that sort of thing, and many of them come with a temperature probe. But yeah, you can plug this right in and get a nice real time feed off of that. But more importantly, you can set your fan profile to react of the temperature of your liquid, which is way more accurate and less quick ramping up and down than trying to map your fan profiles against like a CPU temp, which is likely to rapidly oscillate. And
Especially on Intel,
drive your
right?
fans. No, exactly. And can drive your fans crazy, ramping up and down. And who needs that? Go ramp it, map your fans to the water temperature and against something a little bit more realistic. So this is a cool little device. I've seen ones that go in end caps.
yeah.
That's fairly common.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this is the first one I've seen that's an inline one. That's very small and tidy like this. So thought I would use this.
Cool.
Thing.
Yes. Cooling.
Cool-ing. What's Wendell's pick? Hey, I don't think he made one.
If I don't have one either, don't worry.
I'm
I just
shocked.
grabbed my the closest Enterprise to hand. This is one that was probably treated the best, but it's
How does it
missing
taste?
the main deflector dish and one of whatever these are. But otherwise,
Sure,
hey,
that wasn't the Boussard Ram Scoop.
no, that was Enterprise D. Oh no, and the batteries apparently are dead.
Oh, no.
No phrases, no Shatner phrases.
Oh, Shatner.
I am disappointed.
Oh, how do I get off of my camera here? There we go.
That's
Oh
your-
no, okay. What does
big-
Wendell have? What does Wendell have?
That's your... Oh, what's he... Oh,
Oh,
It's got the rover.
sexy.
oh. Very
It's
nice.
the Lego Rover. So it's got the working
The RTG.
like
Very articulating.
wheels. Yeah, I don't know. It's just random desk crap on my desk.
We all have it.
I mean, that's
Yes.
what we
Oh,
do.
gosh, yes.
I have a Jacob DeGrom action figure here. Not action figure, whatever these things are.
Commemorative figure.
Yeah. But look, it's an action pose. He's throwing a pitch. I think
Yeah,
that's
but it's
it.
going to be a ball.
This podcast mercifully draws to a close.
Yeah. Hey, I thought the energy level was really great until it tapered off. But hey,
It was good.
yeah. Wendell brought some energy and a new
We
perspective.
can take it up a notch. I
Yeah.
don't know.
A little bit more intelligent discourse than usual as I swatted a fly or possibly just a little bit of dust flying by. But yeah, thank you for joining us, Wendell, especially
Yeah,
on
thanks,
such short
Wendell.
notice.
Thanks for having me. It was fun. It's a fun distraction.
He's like, hey, I'll
So
do it.
cool.
I'm like, really? Okay. I mean, it's really short notice. He's like, no, it's fine. I'm like, all right, point a
Yeah.
camera at yourself. Let's go.
Do I have
The
anything?
ride
better
of
to
a
do?
lifetime.
No.
No, you didn't have a choice. I had some photos.
watch-
I'm like, I'll release
I've
these.
watched you guys do the same thing with the two of you guys sitting at the desk, and I can't remember her name on remote.
Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
Yep. You guys do the news deal too.
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
I think anybody watching probably knows Wendell and Level 1 Text, but definitely check out his channel. There's a lot of video content. Something that we need to
Right
do
now-
more of.
Right now, I'm building lots of Epic server stuff because oh my god, it's so fast.
It
It's like
is
I've got-
nice, isn't it?
This is a 7713. It's 64 cores and it has a configurable TDP. And so it's like I want Threadripper 5000 to get here. I'll just throw that in a machine and deal with it until Threadripper 5000 gets here.
Do you have a dual socket system or just a single socket for that?
I have one dual socket system and one single socket system. So the 7713 it works better on Windows by itself because Windows struggles with the number of processors. Linux is fine. Windows is on the struggle bus.
Windows doesn't really
Said every
handle
Windows admin ever.
even the Threadripper 64 core had some major growing pains in Windows at launch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Those are still there. So like it's funny, server 22 fixes a lot of those issues, but like the Hyper-V team did a bunch of stuff to make it run better. and which is great. And some of the application teams have done some stuff to make it run better. But like Microsoft SQL Server, like they've apparently never had lunch with the kernel team because SQL Server is all types of broken on 64 core processors.
Well,
So
They just want to go back to a JET database. So
yeah, they really do. If they
I
were
listened
Google,
to-
they would have given up on SQL so long ago.
yeah.
I enlisted the help of Glenn Berry, who's a Microsoft MVP, and he really knows this stuff. And I was like, all right, just, let's run through some benchmarks here and make sure. And he's like, no, that's right. And he's like, that's why we don't recommend those processors for SQL Server. And it's like, sounds good.
It's really just the thread count. Just turn off SMT and you're fine, right? It's
For
64
security
45%
pieces.
of the
right?
performance on the table.
Look,
Or
Just single thread it.
it's a small price to pay for compatibility.
the Azure people had the right idea too. It's just on the one server, just create 2 or 3 VMs that only have like 6 cores and build a little SQL Server cluster on one machine, and that also solves the problem.
Yeah,
Well, the
that's
Azure
smart.
people are a bit different from your average Microsoft people right now.
Yeah.
Well, they're forced to deal with the real world because they're right up
Yeah.
against the internet. So
Yeah, eating their own dog food on Azure has taught them a lot of very valuable lessons.
Yes, it has.
really, holy crap, this doesn't work.
This might not be the year of Linux, but we might want to support it. It's just sort of a good idea. I mean,
Wow,
Yeah.
it's actually a really difficult world to live in out here in the real life. Wow, stuff is
Well,
hard.
customers aren't using this how we imagined. We should probably make it suck less.
Right. Yeah, the loads are actually demanding and different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to officially end the show here. So we're now in after show territory until we all grow tired
All right.
of this. But at
What's
some
people
point, I'll
talking
do
about
like
over
fade
here?
out or something.
Oh yeah, we had
How
a
many
lively
ring
chat.
lights? How many ring lights does it take to ring a light? No, that's
there's just the one ring
Yeah.
to rule them.
yep, one ring to rule them all. Yeah, don't Mac OS beta too soon. You don't want to crash your Hackintosh. Speaking from experience.
When you mentioned the Egypt levying the fine against the Ever Given for
Evergreen people.
the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I was afraid that we would go off on that tangent, but fortunately that ship has sailed.
It
Oh
has.
my
God.
Usually we've got to rely on Josh for those sort of things, but thank you.
Mm.
That was even too
Cleaned
low
up
for
the
Josh.
collisions.
Oh,
I tried
Jeremy,
Hackintosh
somebody's
a long time
remembering.
ago, Brett, and never again.
Oh, you should try it again. It's fine.
No.
Jeremy, somebody's remembering your crimson quilt.
Yeah.
Your previous backdrop.
Afghan.
Oh, I didn't actually bring it out to hide somewhere. I occasionally do that.
I thought maybe the cats got to it. Like they climbed up and just took half of it down
That
with
would-
them. Their razor sharp
Well, I
claws.
mean, they've actually got a strange aversion to them. I don't know what it is. I think it might be the fact that their claws get stuck in it and I have to come and help them to get them out of it. Because I have 2 of them. There's another one right beside me. That's also doubles as a gravity blanket because it weighs about 15 pounds.
Hey, this week's show was only 11.6 gigabytes. It's moving across the network at a blistering 108 megabytes per second right now.
Mm.
What's the bandwidth to Josh's house?
Well, apparently the 2 megabits that he's set to by default is a little high.
Yeah, no, it's supposed to be 112 down and 12 up. 114 down is what it's measured at.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah, I don't know what
convenience.
happened. I mean, nothing on the network. I mean, my network was bored. I was logged into the firewall and it wasn't caring. Maybe it was just Firefox got cranky, which it does.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
Wendell, someone was commenting on the dramatic restraint you showed in waiting like 45 minutes to get that joke.
I actually just thought of it as we were sitting here. I don't know.
Wait a minute.
Those are the best ones.
I think he
missed
showed
it.
remarkable restraint in not bringing out the keyboards for as long as he did.
There was actually a fair amount of keyboard porn on tonight's podcast.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah,
we're gonna get.
I wouldn't
hundreds
have
of
brought it out at
listeners.
all, but you were like, wait a minute, the computer can't breathe. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I carry it with me everywhere I go.
From room to room. Exactly.
Oh, Nate would be proud.
I got it plugged into my portable device when I'm sitting on the throne.
Oh, dude, yes, you can.
Yeah.
You can. I think I saw years
Oh, yeah.
ago.
Yeah,
LGR
but-
did a video with an adapter into an adapter into an adapter, and
just
he had a
gonna
model
say,
arm on his phone.
Why not just get a Bluetooth adapter? Just hang it right off the bat.
Oh, the latency. It wouldn't be the
I
same.
guess.
I don't have it in here, but have you messed with like the Pine Phone stuff? It's actually not a terrible experience moving between like something that's quasi desktop and a phone. Like the Samsung thing that it promises with DeX, it's actually almost not unusable.
Is this just
Dex is.
And wait, is Pine a platform or is it an OS?
No, it's
Like actual
it's
hardware?
it's the Pine Phone. It's like the Linux OS, but
Oh, okay.
it's
All right. I have not played with that.
risk. Yeah, so it's surprisingly fast. And when you've got it plugged into AC, it'll drink the power at least until it gets super hot. So if you're using like an email client, even kind of an advanced email client, or driving like a 1080p external display, it's actually pretty good. It's probably better than like a cheap Chromebook.
Really?
Wait, PinePhone has a headphone jack? I'm sold.
Wait, does it have
I don't-
removable
you're
battery?
It
I
has
don't
a
need
US
one of these. I don't need
It has a USB-C dock, and with wired Ethernet and more USB ports and video
Oh.
out. Yeah,
So it is a Chromebook.
basically,
Because of the
but it's in a
price
phone.
Yes. Oh, 32 gig eMMC.
What's the price tag on that thing?
Like $250,
That's not bad.
$300, something like that.
And the coveted 18:9 aspect ratio, I see. Very nice.
They've got a ways to go in the software, but it's surprisingly good for what it is. And you could run Manjaro on it. There's a version of Manjaro that's like phone, but it's Linux, and it will convert between like phone Linux and vague desktop Linux. It's really interesting.
Let's see. You have an all-winner
Linux Shield.
quad-core
Yeah.
SoC with Mali 400 MB2 graphics. Let's see. Lowish resolution screen, but that probably helps with battery life and performance too.
Yeah, it's not the specs are really honestly not great, but it's surprisingly usable.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like, especially on the Android side of things, it's just spec overkill. It's
Yeah.
like they can't throw enough RAM and cores and frequency, and all you're doing on it is browsing, using social media apps, email, and
Yeah.
probably occasionally watching videos on YouTube or something. And you don't need a ton for that. You want battery life,
Yes,
and
that.
and reliability.
And not gigabytes of data transferred. That's like, oh, Google wanted to know where I was 384 times
Yeah.
today.
Look, I just want to know what your, more
an
frequented
hour.
locations are. It's not by accident that anytime you Google something, it's like usually pretty busy at this time. Like, how do they know that? Because every Android phone is telling them, like, I spent 48 minutes at the supermarket today at 8:45 a.m. It's just, and then the traffic data that's constantly being like, you're sitting on what should be a busy roadway. We're just going to upload that as like, oh, there's a traffic event. When enough cars are slowed, it's all automatic, and you opted in, or I guess it's an opt-in automatically. You have to opt out.
Yeah, it actually has dip switches that'll let you disable things like the cameras and microphones and
Oh, this
Oh,
PinePhone
Wi-Fi and
does?
Bluetooth. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, 3 external switches, up, down, and power. But I guess
Okay,
you can
yeah.
remap them, I guess.
LTE, Wi-Fi, microphone, speaker, and cameras. Hardware switches.
Mhm.
And it's a Samsung J7 form factor, 3,000 milliamp hour battery. So it sounds like it's a replaceable industry standard battery.
Mhm.
This is pretty nice.
Replaceable batteries aren't industry standard anymore.
Well, no. Yeah.
They're the exception.
Yeah, lithium polymer glued to the inside of the case. That's the standard because Apple made it the standard.
Yeah.
Because the phone needed to be 1 millimeter thinner.
Are you disagreeing with the Apple standard?
I am.
Yes.
I mean, every Apple
you're
phone
wrong.
has been sealed since the beginning. It's
Well, you're
the
wrong.
Steve Jobs way. You know, he wanted the Apple II sealed. He wanted everything sealed. The Macintosh. No upgrades, no expansion slots, everything external.
Everything's fine until they're not selling a computer that I want.
I don't have it handy, but I've also got the RISC-V soldering iron, which I want to turn into a USB SSH token hardware.
Is that the Pine one? That we're just, is that the Pine Cell? The Pine
Yeah,
Pine Cell.
yeah, it's USB-C, and it's gonna put my SSH key on there, and then have that SSH agent pop up on the soldering iron screen and be like, "Do you want to authorize this connection?" I hit the plus button, and how cool would that be?
The message should probably be, "Oh God, you again." That's not the only one left with one.
This is actually a real thing. This is
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
it's not a joke.
It's actually not terrible. It's a pretty reasonable soldering iron.
Iron OS. It's running Iron
Close
OS.
to the metal.
Will it improve my soldering skills? Is there any kind of automation involved?
There's
if
actually
you-
no hope.
No.
No hope.
With
for
128 kilobytes of RAM, no.
That's enough to hold an SSH key.
Yeah.
It's true.
Wait, it has an OLED screen
Yeah,
on it?
it has an
know
OLED
what?
screen.
Josh,
Wow.
Oh,
soldering
and now
irons.
Sebastian's hitting buy now.
Yep. Here we go. 96 by 16 pixels. Think of the
Josh,
possibilities.
soldering irons will never need more than 128K.
How much? Does
No,
this
they
cost?
won't.
What? This is only $25?
Yeah.
Next
It's
batch,
a pretty reasonable,
April 18.
It's a pretty reasonable soldering iron. I mean, the breakout board is a lot of fun too. You can have GPIO if you really want.
I don't know what this is, but okay. Looking at the back
So
of the
you
box.
can talk
wants
to
it.
it with your
He wants
Raspberry
it.
Pi.
It's USB-C. It can talk to anything USB-C.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Except the occasional AMD platform.
I feel like I would be a fool not to buy one of these at $25.
Yeah,
You
I know. Mir. I think
Fool.
Mir,
get
you
it
meant,
before Ken does, because Ken will buy it
Mir,
for
you
you.
meant you meant TRS-80, not TS-80.
Trash 80?
Yes.
Yeah, the
Yes.
Trash 80.
Trash 80 at 16K memory.
No, this is double the power
Oh,
of
more
a
than
Trash
that.
80.
It's 8 times. Come on. Do your math.
Oh, you can even get fine soldering tips. This isn't just some basic soldering iron. I mean, if you accessorize,
Yeah, those are standard tips too. Like this is a standard soldering iron form factor.
Okay.
It's just that they've gone off the deep end in making it RISC-V based because
This
obviously
feels like a
Yeah.
this feels like a Kickstarter, but it's actually a real product.
yeah, yeah.
all right, gentlemen. Anything else? Or,
No, my butt's numb.
All right, I was gonna say, whenever we hit midnight, there's some feeling I get. Like, what time is it? Oh yeah, it's 12:06.
Turn into a pumpkin. Yeah.
Should probably go to sleep because no matter what time I go to bed, my son will be up at 7:30 in the morning.
Well, I still want to know why my neighbor came in about an hour and a half ago to say, "Do you want to know what your kittens did now?"
Uh oh.
Apparently, they're safe, but I don't know what isn't.
Hmm.
Did they get out?
Well, they're indoor-outdoor cats.
Oh, I see.
Are
They've been out.
indoor-outdoor.
Okay.
Oh, Mira was actually talking about is the TS-80 and TS-100 soldering irons, which I hadn't heard of.
Oh.
Temperature
see that
controlled
now.
soldering irons can be cheap.
Are those Radio Shack products as well?
Probably not, although Radio Shack is still a company.
Is it?
No, the source.
Yes. Well, don't you remember that like a couple months ago, I actually
I
picked
remember
their
Tandy, for Christ's sakes.
Tandy T-shirt as my pick of the week.
Okay,
With a
right, but
Coco.
it's just they have like merch. It doesn't
They're
not the
the
same.
source.
They're sort of a company still.
Mm. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks again, Wendell.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Wendell.
Cheers.
I guess I'm going to end this thing. Signing off.
End
Shutting it
it.
down. Later.
Good
Yeah.
night.
Good night,
Go to bed.
everybody.
See ya.
Ending the stream.